Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but in this case, it's got to be done. According to GeekTyrant.com, that Spawn movie that you really expected to come. I mean, they're making movies of everything, anything superhero related, comic book related, and you would think that a creator-owned title like Spawn, possibly the biggest creator-known title in existence in all of comics, it would be easy to make a comic book or make a film rather of this comic book. But in this case, it's probably not going to happen, except and unless you're down with streaming or some kind of streaming, I don't know, alternative series, perhaps. That might be in the future, at least according to Todd McFarlane. We're going to jump into that. But before we do, if you haven't backed Dracula, please check it out in the link in the description below. Back it, help be one of the first 400 backers. Book is at the printer. The covers are being laminated. The printing of the interiors has begun, and they're going to be assembling books here pretty soon and shipping them out. So in turn, I will be shipping them out. Check that out. Fatal, we're in the final stretch of a really important phase here. I still don't want to say exactly the date that this is going to ship because I don't know yet, but I can tell you we're working very hard on it. Charlie's been actually working on it quite hard for the past week. He's been pretty dedicated to Fatal. So fantastic pages. I got new artwork in from him. I should do an official campaign update. Anyway, Todd McFarlane discusses the possibility of a Spawn streaming series instead of a movie. Turns out he's been trying to make a Spawn movie for quite a while. We've heard him talk about it on news interviews and the like. It's set up for Blumhouse Productions, but nothing has happened. They even cast Jamie Foxx to play Spawn alongside Jeremy Renner, who would be Twitch Williams, but alas, we haven't heard anything, and there probably isn't going to be anything. So the question is, like, what gives? In this case, Todd McFarlane himself answered, and he said, the answer is, you should probably think about it. What if one of the big networks come out and drop a ton of cash and say they want to make it a streaming movie now? My only hesitation for that kind of deal right now is that there's no data that I can think of that somebody's been able to build a movie franchise starting as a streaming series. Let's stop there for a moment. I can think of a few streaming series that have done fantastic. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Stranger Things. I have not seen a streaming series penetrate pop culture like that has. Now, that's not a film. That is a series. And I think the reason it has been successful as a series is because it was, that was the point of it. Like, it was to be a mini series on Netflix. And that's what they aimed for. Perhaps. I mean, that's what I think about. But it's certainly not the typical, it's not typically what you see happening. But the question is, if they're not going to make a film at all, would you go to streaming? And obviously that was his answer. He continues, franchises start in the theaters. Then you can do side movies. Then you can go do a series spin-off from that. But to just go, we're going to build a franchise in a big, meaningful way from streaming, I don't see any evidence of that. If anything, I would argue I see a little bit of the opposite. Some big series come out, they're hot as heck, then 2 years later, they're forgotten because there's 100 other series that are out. These fantastic shows are in and out in a year or two. I mean, that is a good point. And I have to say, I think even for feature-length films that come out in the theaters, this is true in a big way. And it's, how do you support that as a franchise going forward? Like, doing one movie isn't going to get you there. And I'm not obviously suggesting that Todd McFarlane said otherwise. But I'm not sure that streaming in and of itself is a massive downside. Things have changed quite a bit. And I think if anybody could make streaming something, it could be Todd McFarlane, perhaps. I'm going to scroll down here for another quote from the Todd father. He says, there's two big roles in the script. There's obviously sort of Spawn himself, although in a weird way, it's not the biggest role. And then there's the cop. The cop is this character, Twitch, who's been there since issue number 1. Twitch is the role in this one, and I sort of referred to him as my Sheriff Brody, who is the sheriff in the Jaws movie. Although it was called Jaws, Jaws didn't really talk a lot in his movie, right? He just kind of showed up and at the opportune time to make the movie worthwhile. So it sounds like it'd be from Detective Twitch's position rather than Spawn himself. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, again, none of this happens if a movie isn't made. So I'd have to ask, if you have all the rights to make this film and you can't because it's stuck in gridlock in Hollywood in a production, I don't understand all the red tape that goes into this. But if there's never going to be a Spawn movie made, if you had the opportunity to take those rights back and move to streaming, would it be worth it? And I'm going to point this one thing out, and that is, it's particularly with Spawn. It doesn't actually seem like the Spawn film that came out in the 90s was what put Spawn on the map or made it larger than life. More often than not, I hear people talk about that cartoon series, the animated series of Spawn, and how fantastic that was. So I would suggest that whether it's a movie or whether it is a series on a streaming service, whatever it is, it needs to be amazing. Like that's at the end of the day what it comes down to. And I'm not sure that a film is immediately going to be better in those regards, but I'd want to know what you think about this. Let me know in the comments below. Really appreciate you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Sweetcast. Check out Clint Stoker's Dracula and Fatal, both on Indiegogo, and I will see you in the next video.